Okay, here we are. Welcome once again. As promised, like since forever, honestly. Gonna try to go live on YouTube more. That way the lives are saved and you can like come back and rewatch them and hold me accountable to the crazy things I say and we can have some fun this way. So I did a live was it Friday? Either earlier this week or late last week. I don't remember. It was earlier in the week or last week. I think it was last Friday, actually. It was a week ago. And it was a very heavily relationship themed. It was last week because it is February. It's February 16th today. So naturally, I get a lot of readings regarding love closer to Valentine's Day. People want to know if is this person the right person for them? Should they even go on a date with them? Are you ever going to get married? Like, can I describe your spouse? Things of that nature. So, I want to make some points on astrology, general manifestation, and I had planned to do like a relationship series anyway for YouTube because I just read so much. So, I got a little bit sidetracked with what I've been reading, but I mean, it's still pretty on brand and it's valuable. So, just also forgive any tea drinking just because I'm still in recovery from that awful illness, but I've got my little true love t-shirt on to keep with the theme. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to consider is astrology. All right, so this is also going to include things like Shira 7 and things that we see on the internet for very good reasons. So just bear with me. But let's do astrology first. Okay, so I was mentioning doing readings, and people will ask, am I going to meet somebody and da da da. I got a teacher I kind of dabbled with since last year here and there, and they've, when I managed to pay attention, they've produced some incredible nuggets of wisdom. One of them being that the best relationships that we have in life are actually the ones that we perceive to be negative because they teach us the most. Like success is easy, all the easy relationships, we leave with some memories, but we don't do the sort of like inner emotional Olympic training that will bring us to a happy relationship or change our like some inner alchemy. Okay, so in terms of astrology, that's the first thing: is the person do they actually have a capacity to be in relationships? So if you've gotten this reading from me before, I only speak about myself when I relate to the person because I'm trying to kind of like almost soothe them or give them some kind of like perspective because it's a very lonely thing, but I've never actually read for anyone remotely close to what I have. Okay. So even when I was a child, I knew I was married to God. I'm married to a cause. So human, like earthly romantic love, though it's very fun and it's diverting, I never thought of it as productive. Okay. And I'm obsessed with being productive. So it just doesn't fulfill me in the same way as my love of all that is does. Okay. But I have what's known as like very low receptivity. So, sometimes when people are like that, it's important not to blame yourself. You didn't do anything wrong. You just have bigger fish to fry, or that's just not what's going to fulfill you. So, that also doesn't mean that you're never going to be married. You will still probably get married. It's just not something that defines you. Now, we do see some people, and it's measured in men and women differently, but I'm speaking about predominantly women today because the bulk of my clients are female. Okay, you'll still get married. It just isn't your whole world. And then some women are incredibly flexible. So they're the type where when they get married, they're like the wife, the mom. It's like even if they're like a career woman, it just kind of like radiates from them that they're like a relationship person. I'm a relationship person by default. I became really good at relationships because I just never really thought very much of them. And then when I decided to think of every myself as in relationship to everything in the world, okay, like to society, to the government, then I started to see how I projected my energy and projected myself. So that's where that skill set came from, but I wasn't born like that. Some people are just born that way. Okay, so that's good news. I'm sharing good news. You can change. You can become a very flexible person and attract more prospects and have more relationship options. So that's the first thing I want to mention is like no one's cursed, nothing's late, nothing's delayed, nothing's denied, and external reality doesn't have anything to do with it. Okay, so there's nothing to do with looks, where you live, none of that matters. It does not matter. I told a client once, jokingly, I said it on the live or something like to the effect. I said, someone's going to knock on your door. They're just going to knock on your, which we always think of like it's never going to happen. You have to get out of the house. No one's going to knock on your door. Like we always have the saying. About a month and a half later, she did message me and she said, I swear to God, this man just knocked on my door. I was like, okay, so it does happen for some people, you know? So that's the first thing. So astrology is very useful, but you have to listen to the advice, okay? So if I'm telling you, I mean, it's for your own benefit. You don't have to listen, but I don't know what it is with synastry readings as well. If I tell you this is a really hard match and it requires a lot of work and this person is slippery and hard to pin down and this and this and this, why do you pin your hopes on them? Don't do that. Don't do that. You know, why do you want to be in a relationship? You have to work so hard to sustain. Excuse me, tea break. Okay, like if you have to work on it, it really doesn't work. It just doesn't function that way. Another one is going to be the idea of timing. So, marriage is actually incredibly difficult to predict. That's one thing that this teacher also mentioned. And I thought, how's that possible? So, I started looking through charts, and lo and behold, I couldn't see in my family members who are married. I was like, wow, you have to dig very deeply. So, not everyone has an obvious trigger transit. Okay, I had one, my astrologer 2020 and 2022. Okay, those failed. And I was like, wow, like it's just not something that grabs you. You know what I mean? So you have to look very deeply. And the reason, especially for women, is Jupiter is the husband, but Jupiter is also going to indicate that you're going back to school, you're learning, you're traveling, you're getting more money, you're having a child, or you're getting married. So which one of the five is it? So you have to know a lot of like sub techniques to actually know if that person's getting married or if they're just getting pregnant. Another one is just humaning, okay? So something that I'll see sometimes is very interesting and I it's hard to put into words. So if I see you will make a commitment whatever January 15th, all right? And then you will make a commitment May 30th, for example, right? And then the person writes me in February and says they asked me to go steady, but then they dumped me. So that means that person can come back to you May 30th, or you'll meet someone else around that time. So as long as you're with someone, what does it really matter? You know what I mean? So sometimes it's like that. And there's some examples, astrologers hear like everything from like every walk of life, and some of it's like pretty intense. So sometimes you'll hear people who are like, oh, I met the love of my life while I was living with someone, so I couldn't go out with them, and then lockdown happened, so we tried to reconcile, so I went back to this so you're looking at, like, 2 commitments and 2 breakups in a 12-month window. That's like how do you articulate that to somebody with them actually believing you? Okay, a lot of the times it's not believable until it actually happens and you go, "Okay, wow." So timing is a really strange one as well because so much of your own will is involved, and then, apart from that, just like your own definitions of commitment, what that means to you is some people don't want to get married, but they want to live with somebody or they want them to meet their family. So, in terms of prediction, that's really important to take into account. And so, lastly, in terms of timing and prediction, the worst of the worst is people like me. People like me are impulsive and I don't have impulse control issues. I have no desire to control my impulses. I encourage impulse decisions. So impulsive decisions are next to impossible. And I think it's easier to predict the more ridiculous it is or the more like removed you are from it. So if someone told me I'm single, I don't believe you that I'm going to get married, and I see that you're taking a trip in October. And I said, no, no, something happens in October. And you're like, that's nonsense because it's like late August. I'm not going to meet someone in 6 weeks. But you go to Vegas. Your trip is to Vegas and you get drunk and you go and get married to somebody, which, by the way, I did meet a gentleman. I was in his office. He had a really beautiful picture of a woman and himself. And he left the room for a second. I said, "Oh, what a beautiful lady." And his business partner said to me, "Oh, that's his wife." I said, "Oh, very nice." He said, "They've been married for 12 years. It's their anniversary, like last week or something." So that's very nice. And he said, they actually met in Vegas. It was both their first time there, and they got married the day after they met. They got married on the second day, and she's from Brazil. So the first thing he did when he came back to Toronto was go into overdrive on getting an immigration lawyer and like bringing her over here. But they impulse married basically. So maybe in her chart, you could see that she got like a little boyfriend, and then the following year, she moved overseas or she traveled or her material circumstance changed. But to tell someone you got drunk and impulse married after doing acid at Cirque du Soleil, that's probably never gonna enter your consciousness. Okay, it's possible, it's not very probable, but things like that do happen. So I'm only laughing because I have tendency for impulse decisions, and I know my chart has. I've always been told, and I know it in my heart since I was a girl, that I will be impulse married. I'm not gonna wait like 6 years. I'm just gonna get like, hey, you'll do. Like, you're not, you'll do, but hey, it's you, and you'll go, hey, it's you, and then off we go. Okay, so that brings us to that's the astrology portion. So if you want to know more, of course, you can get a spouse description, reading, love description. And the I don't charge for remedies. They're always include, like, if I see something, even if you don't ask me about, like, often it's health. People don't ask about health. I find so funny. But we're young, so like I understand a lot of people like aren't really worried about health or money, something. But I will point it out to you because I just think that's, how God made me. That's how I think. But remedies are interesting because I remember an astrologer saying when I was getting into Vedic astrology about 8.5 years ago, but it was like 2017. Okay. Um, he said, I will tell my client like do this and that, and then they come back so disgruntled and they're so angry at me, and then I'll say, okay, well, like what happened? And then they say nothing, and then he says, "Well, did you do it?" And they go, well, I did it like once. I don't really, but like I don't really care. And he went, no, like what did I? That's like the doctor prescribing you something and you not picking it up from the pharmacy, but going, yeah, but I dropped off the prescription. Okay, but did you pick it up? Maybe you did. Did you take it home? Did you take it every day? It's a prescription. It gets prescribed to you. Okay. So you have to do it if you want it done. Okay. You don't have to do it. You can attract what you want without the remedy. But if you apply the remedies, you will at least notice like a change in yourself. Okay. So it's for the better. All right. Pardon me. So that's another thing is like people don't really apply themselves, and then they are let down by lack of results. So it just doesn't work like that. Like it's like saying, yeah, I want to go shopping because I want to have a bunch of stuff, but I don't actually want to go shopping. Well, either you have to leave your house or you have to open your computer and start looking online and clicking, filling a shopping cart. Wait, something has to be done. It might knock on your door, but you've got to place that order in real time. Okay. So next is actually enjoying your life. Okay, so this is where it all came from. So I was getting all these readings and I was reading all these books simultaneously. And the common thread when we're what let's say looking for love, that you don't really look for love. Okay, so I have Mars and Venus on a date. I have men are from Mars, women are from Venus, Mars and Venus in the bedroom, Mars and Venus forever. I don't have Mars and Venus in the workplace just because I don't think it's like relevant to like long-lasting, harmonious romantic relationships. I didn't buy that one, but I have 4, okay? I have 4 of these books. I also, did snippets from is it Sherry Argov or Arnov? Why Men Marry. So I got the marry one, not the date one. And I read it during lockdown, and so weird thing to say. I read it during COVID. But and the common thread is that basically people who are more detached end up with spouses and end up happy in their relationships because we're ultimately looking for people who are like whole and content, basically. And what I'm about to say, I really like, please hear the energetic resonance and move your mind out of the way, because I feel sometimes, not always, but depends on like who I'm speaking to and the generation and the culture. People take offense to things that aren't like even there. Okay. So this isn't like sexist or misogynistic, but when people say things like, you just need to get a hobby, and then women are like, women do have hobbies, but I'm not attacking women. That's not what I mean. Because I'm a woman. Like I've had men be like, "So what do you do for fun?" And I'm like, "What a dumb question. What a dumb. Do you think I wake up with hair this bleached and eyebrows just like, no, they're drawn on. Like this is what I do. So I understand, but basically, it's literally, how we have this whole thing on online now about like decentering men. That actually works really greatly in your favor. So it's a mental and an action thing. And I'm going to get into that with the law of attraction portion. I'm trying to devote 10 minutes to each topic, but um this is the thing. I live in the West, right? So men generally preoccupy themselves with things that they enjoy, right? Women are socialized to be social. So what's interesting about that is like in the occult, uh I have to tread very carefully about what I'm about to say. I don't want like angry Christians leaving me messages, but I just mean like we live in an age where we're constantly distracted. And I've been meaning to do, I have my notes from my torn piece of paper. I have my notes, my Rudolf Steiner notes that I want to make for Patreon about Aramon. But we're just like in an age of persistent distraction. Okay. And I think when you're a woman, and as the founder of Galentine's Day, I saw her TikTok. My friend sent it to me. I love you, Jenna. Amy Poehler said like nothing's like more important than your like female, deep like female friendships. I feel that, and like I feel that in my soul. I've even had my friends say, um, "I need a good man for a husband," but that's really it because I've never met a man who can fulfill me. She said all the like mental stimulation, the depth, the capacity to like think and feel, like have this like incredible cerebral bandwidth. She said, I get that from my mom. I get that from my sisters. I get that from you and my friend, like I get that from seven people. That's my expectation of you because I'm used to you. But my husband just has to be a good husband. And I was like, it's actually a really good way of putting it. Hi, Nazreen. Hi. So I'm just talking about relationships because it's just easier when it's live on here instead of filming a video and then uploading it. But you know the drill. So the interesting thing I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about the occult. I'm going somewhere with this. And in the occult, it's I'm here by accident and I am delighted by this. I'm here by accident too. I don't even know what I'm doing. Such as the earth. But the more distracted you are by other people, the farther you are from your own goal. And that's why I think sometimes men find it easier to manifest certain things just because they're not emotionally caught up in things. They are enslaved by their short-sightedness when they're not aware of their biology. But I can make the same argument for women and our emotions, right? Like if you don't control your how you feel, you don't control your feelings, you don't control your thoughts, like Abraham Hicks teaches, like just mental control. But this is the homework of any adept in any practice, whether it's yoga, meditation, thelema, any occultist, even religious people, they're forced to sit and focus and pray. Okay, you have to have mental control. You can't control your mind. You're never gonna get what you want in life. You're gonna drift. You're a drifter, and I think because women are generally social, and we like I'm happy to fix my friends' problems. I'm happy to if you're anxious. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You know what I mean? But I have good like barriers. I have good emotional and energetic boundaries. I think a lot of the times when we don't, we bleed out our energy. So people feed on it. And this isn't just your friendships. I'm not attacking female friendships. I mean to be a woman in the modern age today, full stop, period. Why? Social media. Before social media, I remember being in like middle school, high school. And I actually remember this. So, do you remember the Steve Madden ads, Vans, Skechers, all that stuff? The 17 magazine, I saw even then it gave me the creeps, but I was like ahead of my time because I was just like, I was born hater. Like I just knew I didn't like stuff. Like, you know what I mean? So I was like, Nazreen, you get it. Like we're Virgos. We just don't like things because we know we don't like them. We don't need to explain it. Just that's what it is. Um, but I remember thinking, I'm like 12 or I'm like 17. I just want to like read a heartwarming story about some dolphin that was like returned to sea. Like, and I'm in class. I'm looking at these like video game magazines, a lot of skateboarding, like music stuff from like my friends because I was like really into music. And all that's all they got. They got content. We were just bombarded by ads. Like you have to look like this, you have to be skinny, you have to be a bobblehead, you have to be screwable as a teenage girl. This mascara hack tip, you know, do your lips smell like roses? Like, who cares? You know what I mean? It's not so it just like from the beginning, it was like a constant war for your attention, for your own like self-deprivation from the very off, okay? And even before like phones had apps, I remember reading Eckhart Tolle's okay, Power of Now. Like I've never ever said a book changed my life. Like I've read so many. They don't I find some amazing, but this is the book that will change your life. Like this is the man that will like, you know what I mean? And in his other book, which like was Brand New Earth, which was like featured heavily on Oprah, um, he does say like if every human being became enlightened, the beauty and cosmetics, the fashion industry would collapse overnight. It would just collapse. And like since I was born, my goal has been to become self-actualized. So it does. It was my first book into alignment. Exactly. And it works. Like it's all underlined, it's all highlighted. I have the little workbook as well. It's absolutely timeless. It never misses. It's like Abraham Hicks, they never miss. Okay. So I was like, okay. So knowing what you know now, that when you're a woman, and now with social media, it's even worse in the modern age. Okay. Every time you open your phone, every time you go on this app or that, okay, so much media is crafted. It's not even art, it's crafty. It's like clever and cunning and like weirdly, it treats you like prey. It acts like a predator. You have to understand this. This is going, I'm going somewhere with this, okay? So even the things you think you watch for enjoyment are not good for your vibration. The comparing yourself, like, are you a girl's girl? Are you not a girl's girl? Like, who actually cares? Like, does that really matter? Like, really, who cares? Who cares? That's not even an accolade. You can't, who gives a rip, you know? Fashion this, trend that, mob wife this. Girl, I'm slab. Every woman is mob wife aesthetic. That's not like a thing. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Just like even Oscar Wilde said, fashion is a thing so hideous, it feels the need to change itself every 3 months. Like, just wear what you like, do what you like, go where you like, eat what you like, be where you like, you know? And this is the thing you have to understand when you're female, because you're powerful, the world goes above and beyond to make sure you're never in touch with that you're distracted from your power from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. Okay. I love drinking coffee in the morning. I remember consuming all this stuff about like it being so bad for your hormones. I stopped doing it. I felt like crap. I went back to doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like anywhere you look, anywhere you turn, there's just this like constant like war on the female psyche and the female consciousness. And it's honestly, I'm not a paranoid person, like, if you come to the lives, you know, but, like, it's absolutely vampiric, like, it's absolutely vampiric, so it's like you can't catch a break, and this, like, constant mental chatter is, like, not good for you, it's like a spiritual disease, okay? So we have to rid ourselves of that. Why? Because when you undertake, like, hobbies, things that you enjoy doing that don't have all that noise, everything works in your favor. Like everything just goes so much better. And like I've been saying this for a really long time, so I hope someday, you know, people take it seriously, but there's a true like connection to intuition and your body. Like we know this, okay? But I've always said like people in law enforcement and athletes are incredibly intuitive. Like we don't actually give them enough credit, but when I look at charts, you can see that they know like they have like this like intelligence of like moving through space and time. Like their spatial awareness is like really amazing. So lo and behold, I walk into the thrift store yesterday and I find the Silva Method Think and Grow Fit. So I was like, clearly I'm onto something. And I got in the car, started reading it right away. Okay. I waste no time. I waste no time. And you know how I feel about the Silva Method. I talk about it a lot on Patreon. Okay. Talk about it a lot to you. But literally, he says athletes have like a super, super intuition. And if you don't, you can train yourself into having an intuition anyway. And this is why Abraham Hicks says the thing that you want is not on the path of that thing. So, like, if you want money, actually not thinking about money brings in money, right? So, if you want love, not thinking about love brings in love. But look at it like this: you get together with your friends, you talk about your love life, you turn on the TV, love on an island, love in real time, love abroad, love in 60 seconds, love in 60 days, love it. Like you think it's entertaining, but it's like this over bombardment of unhealthy examples. It adds up energetically. It's not good for you, okay? So I like hobbies where you get to discipline your mind and isolate yourself, like martial arts. I started knitting in was it October, November? Okay, knitting is another one. Crocheting, obviously. Any like cake decorating, jewelry making, carpentry, welding, where you can fixate your hands and like focus your eyes, reading, obviously, things like that. Okay. Those things that kind of put you into a more quiet state. Maybe not reading doesn't put you in a quiet state, but those things are very energetically productive. So consider that we live in a world. I know this is going to sound like I'm not paranoid, probably, but like we really live in a world where women have to energetically and emotionally endure and strain a little bit more, just a little bit more, okay? Because we just have a lot more, like, what I would call opposing forces, but it's not like I mean that in a victim kind of like targeted way, because you can get out of anything. At the end of the day, you are responsible for your life. And I think that the harder your climb, that the greater your glory and victory is going to be anyway. So this is my like advice, is like find things to actually do that puts you in a more like independent emotional place. Okay, so like I like, like if you're on my Instagram, I like to cook, I like to bake, I do those things alone. I don't like doing with other people. I don't like to be distracted in my own world. Like I talk to the food. It's very fulfilling to me. Like a lot of people like gardening. My best friend took up running. She's ran like several marathons and half marathons. It does something, like your life just takes off when you're able to hone in and like discipline your mind. Okay. So whatever that is to you, I don't care what you want to do, but go do it. Okay. Anything. Okay. But just know that it's quite helpful to know that we have that like additional, I would call it like energetic, not even an obstacle. I think it's like a gift to be challenged, but however you want to see it. Okay. So this brings us to law of attraction. Okay. I'm going over. Never mind. Um, is the lack of discipline that I see in people. And this is crazy. Okay, Abraham Hicks always used to say that like people are sloppy thinkers and they're lazy thinkers. And I thought, like, what do you know though? Like, you're not human. And I'm very focused. I'm very diligent. Blah 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 blah. But I was so wrong. I've been so humbled since then. So basically, I fell down a rabbit hole after going into all my love books, and they all have that in common. So all these books say like the people. I can't even say the women. Like I feel like the men who marry B words, right? That one's more like what the woman can do to get a husband and be happily married is basically focus on herself, like be a fulfilled individual, this, that, the other, right? Um, but in all of them, it goes both ways. Like you want a partner who loves life, you want a partner who's as happy as you are, you want a partner who's as healed as you are, a partner who's as excited as of the future as you are, who has as interests as you do, right? And has friends, because when you get in a relationship, you really open your world when you get to like bring new people and like a fresh perspective. That's like the exciting part, is like co-creating together. Like your relationship is like an entity on its own. So, I mean, if you're a person who doesn't really like have a zest for life, then, don't expect to find someone who has a zest for life. Okay. When they say opposites attract, they never mean that vibrationally. That's not possible. Maybe in appearance. Like I'm very like clean cut, I dress modestly ish. I no, like my ears are pierced, no tattoos, nothing. Okay. If I ended up with someone who was like a bit extreme looking, like very alternative or something like that, that wouldn't really mean anything, because at the end of the day, our values and our vibrations have to align for us to even be in the same room, right? So that don't let that external stuff like fool you. That's when they say opposites attract, that's not what they mean, okay? They mean like stuff you wouldn't care about anyway. Okay, that person makes your heart sing. But anyway, so this is always what it comes down to, is like harmony and how to harmonize. And yes, they talk about like uh certain behavioral things, which we'll get into with the Shira 7 stuff. But now, in terms of law of attraction, okay, I'll be honest, most people don't know what they want. They'll say, I want to get married. And then I'll say, why? And they'll say, I don't know, like, I'm 26, girl, I'm 26 too. But why do you want to get married? Like, what is it? Like, who put that in your head? Because I've had it put in my head. And after like reminding myself what I was born for, I was like, well, it's not even my thought. That was, I swear, it was like beamed into my brain by some like alien. Like, I wasn't wearing my foil hat that day, but it's like, it's not even your desire? People, you'll know it's true because when you read for them after like, oh my God, what is that? I don't know if you could hear that. That freaked me out. Anyway, I don't know if you can hear that. That is so scary. Girl, who's talking? apparently something's demonically possessed, which is so funny because this morning I went on a rant about how people who think that every single thing is demonically possessed just need like a reality check because there's no such thing. But now I'm not so sure. Now I'm not so sure. That was I'm on Chrome, and that was the Safari YouTube video that was paused and silenced, and it was an occultist, and now I'm like breaking it. Okay, so now I'm like I have to go make dua. Now I'm like terrified. It's Friday. We're doing it. I'm so scared. Okay, so anyway. Mm. You see, it's very humbling. Life is a humbling experience. I'm gonna have to delete this. And you know what? It's so funny because I remember thinking, a friend of mine messaged me last week. She comes to the lives a lot on TikTok, and she's like, ever since watching your gin video around Halloween, she's like, I am so freaked out when I go to the bathroom. I am so freaked out because of this, because of that. I was like, why are you freaked out? Like, girl, you know what I mean? Abraham Hicks, they said, people always ask us, Abraham, is the devil real? And we say, yeah, you made him up. And I'm like, yeah, like you make it up. It's not like there. And now that that happened, I'm just like, sometimes it be like that. Sometimes it be like that. I just have to learn. I still haven't watched it. Should I? You probably. I mean, you probably already know everything in there. You probably already know everything about jinn. Yeah. If you come from like an Arabic country or Islamic tradition, I don't think anything will really like surprise you unless you want to. There's some stuff in there about people who are more likely to be what we would call possessed. Quotes. Okay. Yeah. True. Okay. So astrology stuff is in there. But anyway, most people don't know what they want. That's the first thing. Secondly, when we think about the search for love, 99% of the time, I'm a little bit shocked by this because I always thought the older we get, we have like more perspective, but some people just don't, okay? Because they just haven't like had to think about it much, okay? Most people, when you ask them, um, describe like being in a relationship, describe marriage, describe living with someone, describe some dates, like what, just describe it. Like, what do you want? What do you want? Most of the time, like honestly, 90 plus percent, they are going to say, this person calls me, they listen to me, they pack my lunch, they buy me flowers, they rub my back, they raise my kids, whatever. Okay. So, most people, easy to summarize, we say they look for someone to love them. They aren't actually looking for someone to love. They're looking to get. They're not looking to give, but they don't even know they're doing it, right? So it's not like you're a bad, it's not moral. This is the thing. Like, please stop with this nonsense that like, you're good, so good things should happen, and you're bad, so bad things happen. It's like the universe doesn't have a concept of morality. That's like a human thing. And I always thought that it's neither here nor there, and I used to like tell people, and they were like, oh, she's like crazy. She believes in aliens. But then when I got into Neville Goddard and his books, I was reading Your Faith is Your Fortune, and he said, the law is impersonal. Like, it doesn't care what you think, but you're going to get what you think. And I was like, exactly, exactly. So if you're thinking about someone loving you, you don't feel loved. So you cannot attract a loving person. It doesn't matter if you're a good person or a bad person. A lot of bad people are happily married. So it's like it really is like that. And anyway, I fell down the rabbit hole. I really got into I made a Patreon series. I got into my Abraham Hicks's since early this week. There it goes. And I was just reminded like of that, basically the principle. So I've said before, the greatest, most powerful thing in the world is your concentration, your focus, your spiritual focus is like money. It's like money. Okay. What you think about, you're going to get. Abraham says, you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. Doesn't matter if you want it or not. You think about it. It's going to happen. Okay. So, if you're thinking about getting love, like D.H. Lawrence wrote rather, do not go looking for love. Those who go looking for love only make manifest their own lovelessness. So if you're looking to be loving for love's sake, then you're just a loving person. So love is never really missing in your life. And then if you're truly, truly loving, people say, but I do. I love my dog. I love my plants. I love my friends. Blah, 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 that can't be right because if you were, you would have met that person. Okay. Like, I want $200 billion. I'm not joking. I want $200 billion. I think that's a fun amount of money. Being a billionaire, having 1 billion just seems so like measly. Like what am I gonna do with $1 billion? Like it's like not impressive. Okay. I want $200 billion. I think the perspective that it would blow my mind, the things that happen in the world with such wealth that we're not aware of is like exciting to me. I'm not talking about purchasing power and influence. I'm just talking about like access to realms of imagination I did not know were even possible. Okay. But I don't have, do you know why I don't have $200 billion? Because I'm not a match to it. If you're a match to it, it comes immediately. You know what I mean? Okay, how about when you think about something too much and that you jinx it? But that's why, because you're tense. Okay, so the first thing is like Abraham talks about manifestation. So they say, okay, I found a really cool candle. I was thinking about money. So I have really good luck at thrift stores. I'm just like, I talk about this on Patreon, like why I'm able to do what I do. Um, and here's like a candle coin purse. It's super cool. Okay. So if you, now that I found this and I really like it, right? I might now think I would love to find more, right? But because I've experienced this, I know what excites me. I never have to think about it again. That thought has been taken and cataloged. We'll call it to the Akashic records, right? Now that it's cataloged, you don't have to do anything. What you have to do is take your mind off of it and get into your emotions, because when you relax, you can let it in. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of the times, because we're really intense thinkers or wishy-washy. Like I'm an intense thinker, but I have a short attention span. So I'll like fixate on something for a week and then I'm just like, I was thinking about that today. I was like, I'm such a facilitator. Like I am a project starter. I've started so many things. I just don't finish them. After a month, I grow bored of it, you know? Um, but that's a thing. Anyway, you have to let it go at some point. Okay. So you don't actually jinx it. Things you just don't get out of your way, right? So it's kind of the same thing. You kill it dead. And Neville Goddard says that too. It's like planting a seed and wondering why it's not growing. So you reach your hand into the soil and pull out the roots. Well, you just killed it. You just killed your dream. You know, it's like if you use the analogy of a baby, you've like aborted the idea. If you just leave it alone, you'll have a baby. Like it even comes out when it wants to. You know what I mean? So a lot of us have to know what we want, why we want it. And what you do is not to overthink it. And that's why I brought up active hobbies. Okay. Like engage the hands and the senses, the eyes, the body, and even the Silva book I was talking about, when he mentions in the book the connection between like the more you discipline your body, the more you discipline your mind. And then the more you discipline your mind, your body just follows, right? So the more you're able to kind of like be physically active and mentally engaged in something that gets you into what's known as the state of flow, you actually are able to manifest better. This is my reasoning from a very young age why athletes and entertainers make so much money outside of like the Illuminati conspiracies. Okay, it's because they're on a daily basis they're entering into an endorphin high, like they're in a state of flow. Okay, they're into creativity, they're into being inspired, and that's why people who don't work crazy hours, like excuse me, like the masses do, make the most money because they leverage their energy. That's the energetic explanation of that. Okay, most people are going to say it's corruption, it's fixed in this, but again, the law is impersonal. It doesn't actually care if you think it's corrupt. That it just responds to what's there. Okay, so if you were able to um, just focus your mind on something consistently for a period of time, you will start to attract whatever it is that you want, as long as it's not on that topic, because you tend to get your emotions wrapped up in it and then you stop yourself. Okay. For some people it works. Some people, like my Aquarius friend is really chill. And she said whenever she gets a boyfriend, she goes, I just go on like a month-long bender of reading romance novels and watching Hallmark movies. And that's it. Like one moon cycle and I have a new man. Like so she's able to like just remove her opinion from singleness and she can emotionally relax and then she attracts somebody. Okay. So that's the important law of attraction. Attraction is just literally mental discipline. That's why I brought up like how women have to, I think, endeavor a little bit more, because we just have like this pressure that's physical and emotional and financial and social. And our health is like readily neglected by society. Like we just have to concentrate a little bit more in the beginning, but then it gets easier. Plus, women just have like naturally more spiritual prowess. So I think it's just when I say hard or a little bit more, it's not like I'm saying that the world is unfair. Like it appears unequal, but energetically the law applies to everyone. It doesn't make exceptions. So I can't call it unfair. But like we have more um we just have more like energetic resources that are at our disposal because of the power of our emotions, okay? Hi Maria. So that's a thing. Okay, so go do something consistently every single day and stop thinking about the thing that you want, whether it's love or money. I want to do a separate session on money, okay? Um and then the last thing I want to talk about, okay, please do the remedies, forget remedies. The last thing I want to talk about is media literacy. Okay, so I said I was going to mention like Shira 7 and da da da, okay? People like that. So, excuse me. Speaking of all the stuff that women are constantly like bombarded with, a thing I've noticed on TikTok that's just like really bad for your vibes, okay, is going to be the videos that have to do with like how I ended up with this dude, he treats me so bad, or sharing horror stories or like those Reddit posts. Just like nightmare, like dating nightmare after dating nightmare. Okay. There's an extent, like you have to draw a line. Like you just have to have a boundary. Maybe you've listened to those things for a year, and then after a year, you say, I've learned what I need to learn. I don't need to know anymore. I believe in the power of sharing information. Okay. Like this is the science of how information travels between mammals, is like word of mouth, like referrals are very powerful. I feel like TikTok has done wonders for women that we know what to look out for, like what's a red flag. What could put you in danger, what could really help you. Like, yes, like educate yourself. Those things are good, but don't stay there because you start to listen to so many things go so wrong for so many people that now that becomes your expectation, and energetically, whether you wanted to or not, because you're thinking about it, you're going to attract some really like some scumbags, you know what I mean? So you have to be really really mindful of like when you've just had your fill and then you've got to go be romantic or you've got to go just give it a break or something like that, okay? But this is another thing, is like knowing what advice to actually listen to and apply. So I find this so funny because in the age of information, never has there been, so little, like even like censorship, but like so little discernment. Like, facts, not everything out there is for you, like it's not meant to be. So I've seen a couple of my clients like really sweet natured, like tender. Okay, like, they're not like me, okay? They're graceful, they're ladylike. They're just, like, soft, they're like the petals of a flower, they're like darlings, you know what I mean? Everyone has a self-defense mechanism, but what they've done is they've incessantly consumed a lot of, like, this, like, online dating, rhetoric, and they aggressively applied it, and it backfired so badly, and they're like, I can't believe he like ran away from me and then I got ghosted and this and that's like, that wasn't your personality to begin with though. You don't have that in you. You don't have to play games. You didn't attract someone who played games, but you assumed he did because you believe this stuff, but you didn't need to, like I know I attract men who play games. Like I know that because I have a strong personality and they think like I'm not gonna be able to hurt her feelings, da, 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 but I've always been switched on, you know what I mean? So I know, like I know. But if I was like sweeter and softer, like I probably wouldn't, you know what I mean? And another thing is like cultural norms. Okay, cultural norms have got to be factored in. Please, for the love of God, like don't blow a good thing. Okay. So for example, I agree with Shira 7. I don't do coffee dates. Like I live in Toronto. Uh, it's a big place. It's very expensive and everything is generally far. Plus, it's cold and uncomfortable, and it's like the most congested city in the world. Like, driving is a nightmare. I drive. Um, some people will say, like, it's so tacky when girls ask for transportation. I don't agree. When I was in high school, boys used to pick me up. If they didn't have a car, they would knock on my door. We'd take the bus together. They never complained. Okay. That's what I'm used to. Like, I'm a lady. I like, I'm a lady. I like gentlemen. Okay. You should offer. But if I drive myself, then you have to factor in like I got ready, I'm looking cute. I'm cold, I'm tired, everything's like I have to pay for parking, I have to pay for gas. Something can happen to me on the way home. Someone can approach me around my car. Like I'm too much of a risk to be sitting there suckling on like some bean juice with you. It's embarrassing. Like, are you not embarrassed? Like Shira 7, she's like some bean juice. Like my lip gloss costs more than this bean juice. You know what I mean? That's how I feel personally. Okay. So within this context that I live in a very like flat, wide city, that doesn't make sense to me. It makes no sense to me to leave my house for a coffee. Okay. Plus, I don't drink coffee after noon. Okay. So it's like dumb, right? Um, but when I was abroad the last couple of years, that's what I would be doing anyway. I would go out and drink coffee. I do most of my work in cafes. I do almost all of my reading exclusively in cafes. Every day I'd be in town. And the culture is different. Okay, if you live in a walkable city, the culture is probably different. If you're abroad, the culture is probably different. So that's okay. You can then go for coffee because, like I've experienced, it oftentimes turns into a meal. But if you were straight up like, "No, you're cheap," it's like then they're gonna be like, "What the hell?" Because not everywhere do men not know how to be gentlemen. So the target audience for I think like not just Share 7, a few of them. The target audience is like the Western world where men are just like not very gentlemanly anymore, okay? But women want that treatment. There are parts of the world like men pride themselves on spoiling you. So don't project that advice across the board. There's like a time and a place, basically. Okay. So that's the first thing. Okay. So that media literacy is really, really, really important. Okay. Um, and know how to apply it accordingly. Okay. And so if you, because I have clients from all over the world, and for so many of the people who are like from Eastern cultures or African culture, that doesn't resonate with them. They're like, like my African clients, like, they know straight up, like, if they're getting married, they hand, like, a document or, like, a Google document, it's always the writ paper, of everything that they want, and it's the man's, like, good pleasure to go and get it for you before you get married, and here it's like, she's a gold digger, she's this, she's that. If that bothers you, don't the world is a big place. There's all of South America, Africa, the Caribbean, Eastern Europe, I said Africa, right? Yeah, Asia, like, the Middle East. All those places, for the most part, okay, like no one's perfect. Like we don't know where's perfect, okay? But for the most part, men there are eager to like provide and be husbands, okay? So you can just stop feeling like everything's gone to hell in a handbasket, like just because in one part of the world, like it's kind of like the norm that it's got to be 50-50 and it's got to be like materially equal or equal in terms of circumstance. Or how much energy you project, which it isn't because women generally just do more. Like that's nuanced, right? So you can't measure it in the same way. So don't take that personally, okay? I haven't known what a gold digger is until I got on TikTok and learned it came from broke white dudes. Yeah, I never heard that either growing up, right? And they'd say like, "Oh, Monica's a gold digger," and I was like, "Nah, babe, I'm Slav. Like, never show up empty-handed. What are you crazy?" So that's why, like, if I go on a date with someone, I haven't met them yet, I just say it like as a like very playfully, I'm very gentle. I'm like, "Oh, come bearing gifts. Like, come bearing gifts. Like, if you don't show up with like flowers, you don't show up with some cute memento, like, I'm not gonna remember you." And they'll go, "You're so high on yourself." Like, you asked me out. What do you mean? You know I'm the prize. That's why you're speaking to me. You think you're the only one? You ain't even the what ice cube ice spice, But I remember a coworker of mine. This was like over 15 years ago. Okay, it was a long time ago. Uh, I wouldn't know. I'm 26, but she met a guy out on a night out, and he asked her to dinner, and she was already like getting in her own way. So she was like, "He asked me to dinner. He actually called me on the phone. Like, why is he being like that?" And you have to remember, this is before dating apps. People would like really call you on the phone, right? Plus, he was born in the 80s, so he used his phone as a phone. And I was like, "But that's like he's being a gentleman. Like he wants to go out with you. Like why wouldn't he?" But she was just like paranoid because she was just so used to the absolute garbage, like bare minimum, right? And then she said she came to work like beaming and she goes, "Oh my gosh, like he came to the date and he had these he said he had a gift for me." And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed." Like he's gonna like put like flowers in my head. I'm thinking like, be for real. Like that's just like you're supposed to like rejoice that someone's thoughtful. My mom said to me one time, I was not comfortable with a friend of mine holding up my coat and me having to put it on. Like he was just being courteous, but I said it just made me feel really like awkward. Like we were in the restaurant with like a group of people, but he didn't mean anything by it. Like he was just being like a nice dude, right? And I said to her, like, I don't like it because I'm a bit clumsy. So I was like worried it would like I would like smack like a waiter walking by, and I was just like being negative, like a negative for like nothing, you know? And my mom just said, Mookie, if a man wants to be a gentleman, a woman can be a lady and let him. And I said, what if he doesn't want to be a gentleman? She's like, then you could do what you want. You know the answer to that. Like, why are you even like looking at the worst case scenario? Like, like just be gracious, you know? I was like, yeah, just be gracious. Let him give you a gift. So what was the gift? You know what the gift was? It was so cute. It was like it wasn't personal either. That's the thing. A lot of people get caught up thinking like a gift is personal. It makes them uncomfortable, which also shows the modern woman's problem with receptivity. Like we have an issue with receptivity, okay? Because we always think we owe someone something. As Nazreen said, it comes from these cheap dudes. God, I see what you did for others. So what he got her was it was the Olympics, and he got her like these like commemorative like mittens with the Olympic rings on them, which is like cute. It's like a once in a lifetime event, whatever. You know what I mean? It was like he could have gotten it for anyone, like a sister, a friend, a neighbor, and I thought, oh, that's so sweet. And see, that kind of like stands out in your mind, right? So she was like, oh, this person like tries. And not just that, a lot of the times you also have to remember something, okay? Like if a man for whatever reason ever came across this, okay? That made it into the 51 minutes. Ever heard this? When you actually show effort and endeavor to show effort to like woo a lady, as we would call it, um, it signals two things. Like one, that you're actually worth her time. So it's a good investment, like even if nothing happens from it, right? Um, But more importantly, what it shows to the receiving party of these affections, of this energy, this effort, is consideration. Like, let me get you a cab. It's late at night. I don't want you taking the subway. I don't want you to drive. Let me come get you. Where do you, let me get you a car, you know? What do you think that signals to people? And all the women who are so paranoid, like, never tell them where you live. Like, I'm assuming you have some level of discernment, and I'm assuming you're actually like one criticism I have about people who criticize the actions of women, be they other women or not, is the constant assumption that women are dumb and helpless. Like I'm so over it. Like women generally like are girls are smart. Like girls know, okay? So I'm just like, okay. But listen, it signals consideration. What do you think that means? The point of a functioning relationship is two individuals' ability to do what? It's two words. Consider others. You consider others, something outside yourself. And if the person does it to you, you tend to stay with them. If they don't, you leave. You take yourself elsewhere. So when someone's like, my friend went on a date last weekend. She said, it's a small thing. Also, she's from the South. So this is like a big deal to her. But I understand because like I'm old school. Okay. She said he walked on the inside of the street the whole time. And she says, it's a small thing. I thought it was a little odd. I thought nothing of it. But every establishment we went into, he would open the door and walk through himself. So he would like open the door and she'd have to like like get the door herself. And I was like, yeah, I can't be doing that for the rest of my life. You're not considerate of another. And he's almost 40. He's almost 40 years old. Okay, he's 39. So the fact that you haven't learned that like 4 decades on the earth, and I knew that as a 10-year-old. I knew that as a 10-year-old. If you and your friend like went to get a milkshake and somebody walked you to a table, you take the extra 2 steps to the farthest seat so that the person behind you walks fewer steps. You know what I mean? Like, how do you not know as an adult man? Like, that's so whack, okay? So when you do these things for ladies, if you're courting them, and yes, courtship like actually matters. Like I know not everyone cares, but it does. If you're wanting a wife, you're wanting what you call a good woman, this, that, the other, okay? When you plan, execute plans, communicate, not only does it show her you are worth her time, her investment, right? It also signals to her, to your own psyche, and to the whole of existence, the universe, the world, life, whatever you want to call it, all that is, okay? That you are relationship literate. You are literate in the art of relating to other human beings. Therefore, life, God, whatever you want to call it, okay, the mystery of life, the force, like God force that moves the world, will bring you someone who's equally relational. If you're acting like you're not relational, then it has no excuse or reason to yield that to you. Okay, that's why if you're paranoid, you're going to attract one of two things: another paranoid person or your biggest fear. That's it. That's all you can attract. Okay. If you're joyful, you're going to attract someone who enjoys your, let's say, funny. Okay. Someone who loves your jokes and sense of humor, or someone equally funny. So you're both laughing at each other's jokes. There's nothing else. Okay. So if you're a guy and you're like, if you're scared of gold diggers, you're scared of getting scammed, you have just a flashing light that said, like, rinse me, scam me, take, 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 take. If you have a victim mentality, same thing. Okay. If you're out there having high expectations, but very low, you're not defensive, it's a great time. That's a good combination. Okay. Um, and then the last thing I want to say, if you're looking for love and dating in the modern age, is I want to bring it back to hobbies, and how you fill your time is so important. Like Abraham Hicks says, if you want your own soulmate, mate with your own soul. Why? Because get ready to be bored. Get ready to be really, really bored. When I was very young, I just finished university, like 2 years ago. I was like, I remember someone to my flip phone, someone texted me and they said, like, I'm feeling like doing something to that effect. I don't know what it was. And it was like a friend of a friend, right? And he was interested in me, and he didn't just, also I'm very old fashioned. I'm like a very clear communicator. So I don't generally like make time for people who can't just articulate what they want, because how old are we? Like, be so for real. Um, I mean, and I apply that standard after the age of like 15 or 18. Like, you should just know how to like say what you want. Okay. That's how I always was. But he was like, like, it's Friday. Let's just go grab a drink. There's a pub around this and that or something. I said, sorry, what? And he texted it again, but he didn't. And he was older than me. So he was like in his mid to late 20s, so he couldn't just say, I like you. I'd like to get to know you better. I'm looking for a girlfriend. Like, so in my head, I didn't hear, I want to go on a date. Unless I hear those words, this is not a date. That's like just how I always was. So I remember this moment. I was reading Jane Austen. I think it was Persuasion, and I was in my bed. It was January. And it was like, with the wind chill, it felt like negative 20 something degrees. Okay. And my cat was asleep close to my feet. I had a hot cup of tea, and I was looking at my phone, and something just went off in my head. And I thought, unless you can offer something great, greater than the level of comfort I'm experiencing now, I'm not leaving my house. That's it. Like, I work, it's the end of the week, I'm having a great time. You didn't offer me anything that is more fun than what I'm already doing, right? So you're asking me out so you can have fun. So that question and the way that it was asked had no consideration for me. There was no consideration how cold it was. He also asked me not to drive so we could drink, which means he actually like asked me to take the subway. Okay, like, walk in the freezing cold, and also too, like, nothing wrong. I like taking the subway, like, I like trains, but you also like mess up my vibe because now I have to dress for like the Arctic cold when I could have looked cute and driven. You know what I mean? It's like, don't, it just bums me out. You mess up my vibe. You mess up the whole getting ready process. It's also last minute. So that whole interaction was just based on this person. Okay. The overtone of that was gimme, gimme, gimme. I'm gonna take, 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 take. No one really cares what you feel or you need to do to prepare. And I can't even promise you it's gonna be worth your time or worth your while. Why? Because even the way that he asked it, you know it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. It wasn't gentlemanly. Okay? He could have said, I'm sorry this is last minute. It's not very well planned, but I'm gonna come get you or I'm gonna send you a cab. Meet me here. Just bring vibes and look cute. We're gonna have a ball. We're gonna have a ball. I've had people do that. I've been like, I'm coming. Let's go. I had the best time. But you're putting mental burden on me, mental load on me, financial, putting my safety at jeopardy. You jeopardize my feeling of security when you do that, right? Not gonna happen. Also, I live in a city where the subway stops running around. They always say 120. It's not. Sometimes they just cut it off whenever they want. So I've been downtown a bunch of times. And before Uber, cabs were like $65 in one direction. And back then, that was like a lot of money. Okay. So it's like $100 for a cab. So I was just like, why would I do that? Just so you can have fun? So you can look at a pretty girl? So I can make you laugh? Are you dumb? To the surprise of no one, all the people I've interacted like this with to this day are not married. Okay. So I'm just like, because you don't care about other people, you actively show them you don't care. So please, like, be considerate, take the effort. It will be reciprocated. If not through that one individual, life will bring you people. Life will bring you people as like a reward who actually give you what you want. Okay. Another thing I just want to mention really quickly before I go, I watched a TikTok of this girl's like, well, was I rude for doing this or that? Okay. Basically, I don't know the username. I'm sorry, but a guy asked her to brunch at like 2 o'clock. Already, that's a red flag. Brunch is like 11, like 2 is like weird, it's in the middle of your day. Like already this dude has no time management, okay? He doesn't respect your day. It's like in the middle of your day. Either we meet in the morning or we meet in the evening. That's it, okay? So she gets there like 5 minutes to he's like, "Sorry, leaving, be there at 2:10." I think she went in, ordered a drink, and then he said, "I'm looking for parking." So she got the bill because he was like taking too late, taking too long, and then she left at like 2:30, and then he called and it like went to voicemail. I just want to let you know something, okay? General etiquette is 15 minutes. I don't care if you're a friend. I don't. I don't care if you're a lover. I don't care if you're my boyfriend. I don't care if we live together. A quarter of an hour is more than enough time. All right. Unless the subway stops running because someone pulled the emergency lever, like you're a grown up sitting in your own house, like twiddling your thumbs while this like woman again gets in her car, pays for her gas, finds parking, wastes her time. She went out there to eat. She went home on an empty stomach. You know what I mean? That's so disrespectful. So again, from the jump, this person had no consideration for someone else. So he's not even worth getting into a relationship with because if you cannot exercise, there's a reason why we say you only get one chance to make a first impression. Even if, circumstances are not in your favor, how you carry yourself and how you handle it, that is within your control. That is within your power. I'm not kidding. I had a I had a job interview where, and I'm not even kidding. I don't know why I didn't feel like driving that day. It's the weirdest thing. This was like in 2015, 2016, 2016. And there was a jumper on the subway who decided to delete themselves from the matrix, right? And back then there was like no cell service underground. So by the time I got overground at like some stop, I like ran out. I like called HR to let them know. Had to take like an emergency bus that connected me back to the subway. And then like I showed up to the job interview and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like that's like a very strange omen. And we laughed like a little bit, not really, because it was like tragic, but I just thought I think I said out loud something like that could only happen to me. And they just like kind of cracked like cackled a little bit. But that's the thing, it's like, I let them know at my earliest convenience, and I wasn't, like, in tears when I showed up. I thought, "That's really unfortunate, let's, like, just do what we can with the time that we have left, like, please, like, use this time how you feel best because I'm so sorry." Like, it happens, okay? This is before, like, people used to call each other on Zoom. I don't think Zoom was even out. We'd Skyped, but, just it's not okay, you're running late, but why? And handle it graciously. This man was not gracious. He didn't give a shit about her time, okay? So, excuse me, trying not to swear. Oh, man. I have to run. Man, I'm so annoyed. So, said once. So just from the jump, if somebody is not a courteous, functioning adult, what are you even doing? That's it. They can't schedule a date. How are they going to be a father? How are they going to behave in a delivery room? How are they going to behave if, God forbid, you get a serious diagnosis and you're going through some horrible treatment? Okay. They can't handle a date. They can't handle a proper text message. Sometimes they're just in denial. They just can't be honest with themselves. But that's okay. It's not your problem. There's a strange belief that you have to fix the people who want to be with you. No, when you love yourself and you know what you want, you get to be with the people of that caliber and on that level. You don't have to go around fixing anyone and doing things for anyone. The healed just come to you, okay? So cut that out. Okay. And you'll know when I prescribe remedies like in readings, sometimes for one of them there is a warning I will give that once you start attracting people, you'll start attracting people who have a lot of the old traits, so the people who've disappointed you before you kind of clear out that energy and then new better people come in. Thank you for listening, Nazreen. Thanks for bringing the vibes. Thank you for being here and having fun. I went for quite a long time. I was hoping it'd be 30 minutes, but you know how I get. But yeah, I love you very much and have a beautiful weekend. Love you too. Love you. I'm going to go post stuff on Patreon. And I've taken down just an update. I've taken down full chart readings on Etsy just because I'm short on time these days, but it's possible if we can work something out, like we'd have to discuss it in advance. But that's the only reading I do live. All my readings are recorded, okay, like voice recordings. I don't believe in PD. I love your lives. Girl, they love you too. I don't believe in like typed readings because they're just like copy pasted. So I don't know. I've never had a good one, so I don't care for them. But um so those are the only ones I'll do live right now just because I have a lot going on. But I'll try to keep giving readings as long as I can manage. But I won't do them forever because they're very tiring. But anyway, I love you and have a beautiful weekend. And bye for now.